Good morning.
What are the main factors that made the 2023 wildfires in Canada so extensive?
Well, overall, 2023 was the hottest year on record globally, and that created an environment whereby across Canada we saw a low snow load, a warmer winter, a drier winter. And those three factors came together across the country to make conditions ripe for wildfires being problematic. And at the core of the problem was climate change. Environment Canada, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, the United Nations Environmental Program, and other authoritative bodies have modeled that with the increasing CO2 concentration in the atmosphere, that we're going to get more extreme weather driven by heat. And indeed, that's what's actually played out last year in Canada, particularly with the wildfires.
So it's not a one-off necessarily. This view that climate change is contributing to the severity of wildfires means that we'll see more years like that.
That is correct. Climate change is irreversible, period. Climate change is here to stay. We're not going backwards on climate change. We can slow it down, but we can't stop it. So we need to prepare, and we need to prepare rapidly for wildfires being more problematic going forward, more so than we've realized to date. Floods are going to be more challenging. Extreme heat events are going to be more challenging. All of these things are going to become increasingly problematic, driven by climate change for which we can't turn the switch off anymore.
I want to talk more about CO2 emissions from those wildfires in 2023. How does that compare, that CO2 compare to the emissions from industrial sources?
Well, in 2023, across Canada, we realized about 700 megatons of CO2 released into the atmosphere, driven through industrial activities, businesses doing their business. That, as compared to 3,000 megatons of CO2 released by wildfires or forest burning. So the emissions of CO2 into the atmosphere from forest burning in 2023 was about even slightly higher, but more or less about 4 times greater than the total emissions of CO2 from industrial activities across the country. And that was due to 8 million hectares of forest burning in 2023, which was more than 6 times the annual average since 2001.
I guess that explains why it's so hard to be outside in some parts of Canada in the summertime these days. The air quality in a lot of major cities is not great, and the health effects are acute for a lot of people, right?
Yes, very much so. And indeed, for a lot of people that live in major cities, particularly in southern Canada, they kind of thought of themselves, up to last year at least, as being immune from wildfires. But they were realizing when they went outside, when the wildfires were on, that they would walk out and smell the air, and it smelled a little bit like a campfire in a downtown region. That had an orange haze to it. And in response, people started wearing N95 masks, particularly those people who had health conditions that were respiratory or cardiac in nature. We saw a spike in sales of air purifiers that people bought to put in their house to at least keep the air quality in their house at a good quality. And people were paying more attention to air quality advisories in terms of when they go out versus not, particularly those with pre-existing health conditions or the elderly or young children. But no, the take-home message for people that lived in cities was that they're not immune to the wildfires, the impacts of wildfires either.
So what steps should we be taking in communities and I guess on our own properties as homeowners? What steps should we be taking to help protect ourselves from future fires?
Yeah, there is a lot we can do. So that's the good news, if there is any good news in all of this. For example, at the level of the house, there are actions you can take to make it such that when fire comes through a region, the house doesn't burn down, such as removing shrubs up along the wall of the house. If you have them there, remove them for a distance of 2 meters from the wall of the house. Replace them with river stone or some other attractive material, but that doesn't burn. Otherwise, the shrubs catch fire and the heat transfers through the wall of the house into the house, and the house burns down. Don't store your firewood at the back door of your house for convenience purposes. You may wish to install non-combustible siding on the wall of your house to make it such that if fire comes up to it, the siding doesn't combust. You can install fire-resistant roofing on a house to make it such that if embers land on the roof doesn't catch fire and subsequently burn the house down. And then more and more with communities now in forested regions, you see them building fire breaks, zones around cities and towns and villages where you remove shrubbery, and if fire comes up to that region, hopefully it stops at the fire break and doesn't jump over it and come into the town. More and more cities are engaging controlled burns of forests. These will be smaller fires deliberately lit under controlled conditions that mimic a natural cycle, versus always suppressing the fire, which means the fuel supply builds up over time, and when a fire finally does occur, it's out of control and causes a community to burn down. So, and by the way, and this is not a commercial, but all of these actions are outlined, particularly what homeowners can do, on our website, Intact Center on Climate Adaptation, for free, for anybody who wishes to look at how do I prepare my house for a fire.
Well, Blair Feltmate, it's good to have you on the program. Thanks very much for your view on this.
Oh, well, thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.